everyone, a good morning to you. Welcome to this edition of News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Today, we will be taking you to the Accra International Conference Center, where there's going to be a national dialogue on ending Galamsey. As you can see in your shots now, the police band is playing. The President Akufo-Addo is expected to open this dialogue on small-scale mining. But before that, though, let's tell you what Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor has been saying. He believes that he will be judged, or the success of his ministry will be judged on how well he deals with Galamsey. But while we wait to take you to that program, a Kaswa-based spiritualist, Sheikh Ibrahim Yalatif, says many young men between the ages of 15 and 25 contact him on how to get rich quickly and also how to win the hearts of women. He says his teachings are purely based on the Quran. Hence, he advises them to rather focus on their education. Well, this comes on the back of that incident involving a 10-year-old who was allegedly murdered for ritual purposes. But now, we'll bring you that story later. But now, let's take you to the Accra International Conference Center, where the President is opening that national dialogue on small-scale mining.
No more than an hour. I ask of all of us to please remain in our seats and observe all the protocols as prescribed to us by government. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Let us pray.
Shall we pray? God our Father in heaven, we ascribe glory and honor to your name for the abundance of your mercies towards us and your goodness to us as a people and as a nation. You of God have nation, and in season you have provided leadership for us to enable us confront every challenge that we face and to soar higher as a people. We thank you, God, this morning that you have gathered all of us in your presence under the leadership of our President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for a national consultative dialogue on small-scale mining. We pray that your presence will be with us, that you grant us that in our deliberation, at the end of the day, we will put together things that will enable us exploit our resources on a sustainable basis, thinking generationally to ensure that succeeding generations will be blessed by what we do even in our time. Bless our discussions, O Lord, and may your presence be mighty in this place. We ascribe glory to you in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. Please be seated.
Many thanks to you, Lieutenant Colonel Apostle Kumi Wood. You are the chaplain of the Ghana Armed Forces. And with the blessing of God Almighty, let me say Good morning, Ghana, and welcome to the Accra International National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining, a conversation whose time has come as we embark on a wiser, inclusive, sustainable, engaging, and resilient Ghana. I am, by the grace of God, Jerry Edemajololo, your son and your brother, and it's with great humility and gratitude I accept to be part of this great day in history. On my own personal accord, I believe that this platform will ignite a new sense of patriotism, but most importantly, a new mindset about how we exploit our resources in a sustainable way for ourselves and for posterity. To this end, it is my pleasure and with a great sense of privilege to introduce before us and the nation, the father of the nation, the President of the Republic. Please make welcome Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. In his company is the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor. The Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, the Honorable Dr. Kweku Friye, joins us this morning. Let's make welcome the Managing Director of Anglo Gold Ashanti and the President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Mr. Eric Esubonting. Joining us on the dais is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Mr. Godwin Ama. This morning, Mr. President, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge with gratitude members of the diplomatic community, members of the Council of State, our eminent chiefs and queen mothers, and members of the National House of Chiefs, regional ministers, sector ministers, parliamentary select committees, industry players, political parties, gold refiners, civil society organizations, captains of industry, and private sector players. Please accept the generous recognition of this House, especially because of the numbers so innumerable to mention. This morning, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we embark on this national conversation with an opening ceremony which would see 3 short remarks culminating in the address of the President of the Republic. Thereafter, Mr. President, we shall invite you for a tour to acquaint yourself with exactly what we're going to discuss here this morning. And thereafter, we shall bring the opening ceremony to a close, go for a coffee break, and reconvene for the rest of the plenaries. This morning, Mr. President, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite to deliver his welcome and keynote address the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, the Honorable Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Ministers of State, leadership of Parliament, select committees on lands, forestry, environment and mining, Honorable Members of Parliament, Presidents of the National and Regional Houses of Chiefs, Nananom, President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines and Small-Scale Miners Association, former Ministers of Lands and Natural Resources, leaders of relevant higher academic learning, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and on my own behalf, I welcome the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and you, distinguished guests, to this historic event, the first of its kind in the history of our nation. Today is a happy day for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources because we have begun the process of giving effect to the instructions of the President of the Republic, and that is to organize a national consultative dialogue on small-scale mining, out of which hopefully we shall come up with a blueprint to resolve the age-old problem of illegal small-scale mining. Mr. President, gathered in this conference hall are members of the Council of State, presidents of the National and Regional Houses of Chiefs, relevant ministers of state, all former ministers for lands and natural resources in the Fourth Republic, all 16 regional ministers, heads of security agencies, president and members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, president and members of the Small Scale Miners Association, leadership and members of parliament, both of the majority and minority, representatives of all political parties that contested the presidential election of 2020, members of the diplomatic corps, members of academia, representatives of civil society organizations, members of the media, and indeed a host of others. Mr. President, in compliance with your instructions, we made it a point to make this conference a non-partisan one and to make it as broad-based as possible and national in character. I'm happy to report that officials of both the present and past governments are scheduled to chair important panel discussions. This gathering is truly a national consultative dialogue and will last for 2 days. That is today, Wednesday, 14th April, and tomorrow, Thursday, 15th April. We hope to replicate this consultation in all the mining regions and districts across the country. The holding of this consultation, Mr. President, is critical because the small-scale mining industry contributes over a third of Ghana's gold output. The industry plays a significant role in the local economies of many parts of our country. Since 2017, a bold attempt was made to sanitize the industry. Considerable successes were achieved in this effort, including the training of miners, reviewing, amending, and enacting laws to strengthen the legal and regulatory framework of the industry. Community mining was introduced, and we are perfecting it steadily. But government recognizes the complexity of this industry. We recognize that there are lessons to be learned, and there's still a lot more work to be done. That is why this national consultative dialogue must be undertaken on the basis of honesty, candor, and with an attitude of constructiveness. We believe and hope that out of the deliberations of this forum, a consensual roadmap can be fashioned out, which should enjoy broad-based national support. The good people of Ghana expect this forum to provide answers to many lingering issues. For instance, Mr. President, how do we effectively regulate this industry? What reforms are required? How do we mobilize finances for the players in the industry? And what should be the role of the banks? How do we generate community support, including the support of our chiefs? How do we deal with the financiers of illegal small-scale mines who put young men into mining pits whilst they receive the proceeds of such criminal enterprises in the comfort of their homes and hotels? And in many cases, such persons never visit a mining site in their lifetime. How do we deal with the illegal involvement of foreign nationals in this industry? How do we fashion out alternative livelihoods for those who will inevitably fall out of the cracks? What can we learn from the international community? What kind of enforcement regime is required which bites and does so without fear or favor? How do we name, shame, and punish politicians, chiefs, religious leaders, the elite, and people with money and influence who are promoters of these criminal cartels in this industry? Should we introduce medium-scale mining in the structure of our mining industry? And if so, should foreign nationals participate in medium-scale mining? Mr. President, after all is said and done, we have to find correct answers to all of these issues. Having found these answers, the resolve of the president of the day or his sector minister to implement these solutions and recommendations will not be enough. We will require a holistic, honest national effort anchored on integrity of action. We will require a candid, collaborative, and collective action. We will require candor, which eschew double talk. We have carefully and deliberately assembled the best resources and expertise in the mining industry of our country. After every presentation, the plenary will have the opportunity to deliberate on the content of the presentation. It will be as interactive as possible so that we get the best out of this exercise. The report which will come out of this, hopefully will pass the usual scrutiny and rigor of the Akufo-Addo cabinet. Mr. President, members of the Council of State, Ministers of State, President of the National Association, Chiefs, Nananom, honorable members of Parliament, President of the Chamber and Small Scale Miners Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources wish to assure the President of the Republic, participants at this forum in Mother Ghana, that whatever set of measures that will emanate from the deliberations over the course of the next 2 days, if approved by government, will be implemented diligently, dispassionately, and with a great sense of integrity and urgency. I welcome you all to this historic event, and I thank you.
Ghana's Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, thank you very much for that warm note of welcome, calling us to frank and candid conversations. This morning, Mr. President, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the next 5 minutes, let's please lend our attention to the screens as we acquaint ourselves with the true problem at hand. This is how we gather for a mission restoration as we secure for ourselves and posterity a land which is green and healthy. This morning, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is particularly appropriate that we hear from the major players and the minor players in the mining sector. Speaking to us now is the MD of Anglo Gold Ashanti, who is also the President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. Would you please make welcome Mr. Eric Isubontin.
Your Excellency, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Nananom Nime Name, the Chief Executive Officers of the various regulatory institutions and agencies, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the membership of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, I wish to express our warmest appreciation to His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for introducing the idea to hold this national dialogue on small-scale mining in the most recent State of the Nation address. We also wish to use the opportunity to commend you, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, for consistently making the Ghana Chamber of Mines a part of the progressive change you seek to bring to the national effort towards a sustainable mining industry. Your constructive and engaging approach to addressing industry issues is indeed a breath of fresh air and gives industry players like ourselves comfort that together we can move the mining industry forward. As President of the Chamber, and I emphasize President with a small p, I am particularly pleased that His Excellency the President himself has opted to play a central role in this dialogue with his presence here today, which is ample evidence of his commitment to mainstreaming regularized small-scale mining and fighting all forms of illegal mining. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to present some issues that are topical on the minds of our members as we collectively seek to develop a system that inures to the ecology of Ghana, to its economy, and to investors in the mining industry. I am certain that the majority of us here today, one way or the other, have been part of the national conversation on sustainable mining practices that in essence focus mining's impact on human capital formation, the society, as well as on the environment and its economic benefits. Producing member companies of the Chamber, who are also the most regulated large-scale producers of minerals, continue to play significant roles in promoting environmentally and socially responsible mining in Ghana. It is for this reason that the Chamber proactively engages with the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners with the overarching objective to improve upon their operations and to support their advocacy towards mainstreaming the small-scale mining sector. Your Excellency, at the risk of preaching to the converted, permit me to define what the Chamber believes to be a mainstream small-scale mining sector. For us at the Chamber, mainstreaming means creating a structure that facilitates permitting, exploration, production, monitoring, regulating, and above all, creating support systems for the small-scale mining players to operate in a responsible manner whilst meeting their statutory obligations. In this regard, it is our expectation that the institutions of state that are mandated to ensure the regulation and promotion of the small-scale mining subsector will be aligned in purpose and direction to create a harmonious and conducive operating environment that benefits the operators, the state, and other stakeholders. One may ask why we are all so fixated on the formalization of small-scale mining sector. All over the world, the extractives industry contributes immensely to the economies of countries. In Ghana, the mining sector's contribution to GDP is about 10%, and it is the largest contributor to our gross merchandise exports, accounting for about 43% of gross merchandise exports. The industry was second largest contributor to direct domestic receipts by the Ghana Revenue Authority. These metrics are not inclusive of the value created across the business linkages that the mining industry offers to the non-mineral economy. The sector's importance requires that we continue to reevaluate its systems to obtain more inherent benefits for national development through mainstreaming, especially the small-scale mining subsector. As we all know, the small-scale mining subsector by law is exclusive to Ghanaians, and it is our firm belief that with the necessary guidance and direction, our entrepreneurs can blossom and become medium-scale and ultimately large-scale miners. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, one critical area that the Chamber believes should be of concern in extracting our mineral endowments is obviously the environment and the management of it. The environment is not only what sustains our lives, it also defines who we become as a people. For the past decade or so, communities in the countryside have been inundated with illegal mining and, along with it, dangerous ways of processing ore, destroying water bodies and other sources of subsistence. We have experienced how the turbidity of water bodies has negatively impacted the operations of the Ghana Water Company, sanitation and hygiene in these communities. We cannot claim to care for our people if we are unable to strictly enforce our environmental regulations. We continue to experience the destruction of farmlands, especially cocoa farms, in the name of short-term job creation, and thereby leaving us with an even impoverished community, which could become a time bomb for community and societal stability. Your Excellency, the next area of concern to the Chamber is to ensure that regularized small-scale mining prioritizes and fully incorporates occupational health and safety standards in their activities. As we are all aware, mining does not occur in a vacuum. People mine minerals. Hence, there is the need to put in place the simplest and most cost-effective measures to ensure that persons engaged in small-scale mining are operating in safe conditions using relevant personal protective equipment and working in regulated settings that protects them and others from injury and fatality resulting often from collapsed pits and muddy pools. The country is losing its productive population through such avoidable mortalities, but we can only stem the tide if we are committed to play our part in the transformation that we seek to achieve. Amongst our members, safety is our #1 value. As we often say, we will not mine if we cannot mine safely. We would like this attitude also expressed and imbibed in the small-scale mining subsector. Ladies and gentlemen, the mining industry remains a key contributor to economic growth. Mainstreaming regularized small-scale mining enables us as a nation to maximize benefits from the mining sector to help fund developmental initiatives for the good of the general public. This is at the heart of the Chamber's thoughts as we continue to engage with small-scale mining for improved outcomes. For the past 3 years, small-scale mining is reported to have contributed an average of 36% of the national gold production. Although small-scale mining accounts for this estimated 36% of national production, the revenue obtained by government from the sector is largely from the large-scale and big mining companies. The recent initiative by GRA to charge a withholding tax has reportedly backfired with volumes dwindling from the small-scale subsector. The resultant high revenue losses to the state should not be allowed to continue. It will require deeper engagement and an all-round support for small-scale miners to operate as formal businesses which are duly registered and pay to the state its due as required by law. A most recent phenomenon in our industry is continuous agitation of sections of host communities for mineral rights owners, including our members especially, to hive off portions of their concessions for small-scale mining and community mining. Invariably, communities demand hiving off the already explored concessions of our producing member companies, which are factored in their life of mine calculations and hence investment evaluation. In other words, the very survival of these mines could be based on the reserves in these portions of their concessions that are expected to be hived off. Sometimes, pressure is brought to bear on our member companies to relinquish such concessions to the communities without considering the effect on the business's life and the potential loss of fiscal revenue to the national kitty. In a sense, these pressures could be to the detriment of the greater and general good of our country. As we have demonstrated in our interactions with both government and the Association of Small-Scale Miners, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is willing to continue to work with stakeholders to identify ways to run responsible and sustainable small-scale mines that will be of benefit to our nation. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the requisite regulatory and support systems are put in place. Before I conclude, I wish to state that mining is a serious business which depends on finite resources and should therefore not be seen as a mere social good. It is also hazardous and therefore must be well regulated by ensuring that only trained and suitably certified persons engage in the endeavor. It is therefore important that any policy decision regarding the mainstreaming of the small-scale mining sector should have our above points and suggestions in view. And I know in the next 2 days, we would be engaging actively in the discussions that happen. On this note, I wish to express our profound gratitude once again to His Excellency the President for offering us the opportunity to share our brief thoughts with you on ways to improve small-scale mining and collectively bring a semblance of responsibility into its operations. It is my expectation that we will adapt and implement concrete steps that are locally driven and sustainable to make Ghana the beacon of sustainable small-scale mining on the African continent. On this note, I thank you once again for the opportunity.
We're grateful to you, Mr. Eric Osubonting, the MD Anglo Gold Ashanti and the President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, for your very warm and thoughtful remarks, calling us to a reevaluation of our policy regimes and our processes. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it now falls to the Director of Finance of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Mr. Francis Opoku, to address us.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abdullahi Jinapo, Minister of State, honorable members of Parliament present, Nananum, members of the Diplomatic Corps, friends from the media, fellow miners, ladies and gentlemen. The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners pledge our unflinching support to the government in the management of illegal small-scale mining activities, popularly known as galamsey, and its negative impact on mining communities and the nation as a whole. Small-scale mining was legalized in 1989 with the promulgation of PNDC Law 218, which was subsequently amended with the enactment of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006 as 703. These legislations allow only Ghanaians to undertake small-scale mining. The promulgation of these laws, the total percentage contribution of small-scale mining to Ghana produced annually increased from 2% in 1989 to over 35% in 2020. Within this legal environment, small-scale mining industry evolved from an unregulated rudimentary activity undertaken by the rural poor as a means of survival to a regulated and business model-based wealth creation activity by Ghanaian entrepreneurs. The sector provides employment to more than 1 million people directly and indirectly to over 4 million people. Minerals production from the sector also rose significantly from around 2% at the time of regularization, that is in 1989, to an all-time high of 43.14% of the total production for gold in 2018. In 2020, the sector raked in more than $2 billion in forest earnings. Small-scale mining also feed the downstream, that's the jewelry industries, with the raw gold for value addition, thereby supporting the creation of opportunities locally. The industry also provides employment along its value chain to the local population, and by that contribute to reducing migration to the cities for non-existent job opportunities. The sector has also paid over 160 million Ghana cedis in withholding tax since its introduction in May 2020. In contrast, illegal small-scale mining is unregulated, and by that presents the economy with multidimensional challenges. The first challenge is the destruction of the physical environment. Large tracts of farm and forest reserves are cleared and mined quickly without reclamation. River bodies are also dredged and sometimes diverted to mine the alluvial deposit in the river bodies. This results in the silting and pollution of water bodies, with a subsequent impact on community water supply system. Mine output become death traps to the local populace, particularly children. Mining communities also have negative social and health impacts. Drug abuse, high school dropouts, teenage pregnancy, and prostitution, among others, to contend with. The economy also loses revenue through the non-payment of taxes and smuggling. Illegal small-scale mining thus poses huge security threats to the nation, said that by 2014, with a near breakdown in governance, the nature of operation was regarded as a crisis situation. We were therefore glad when His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, put his own presidency online and instituted drastic measures to arrest and reverse the situation. The intervention has undoubtedly stemmed the tide of degradation of our natural resources. Your Excellency, we believe that management of illegal small-scale mining is a shared responsibility between government, the association, and other stakeholders. Indeed, no single entity can fight this fight and win. It needs total collaboration from all stakeholders. It is in the light of this and the unprecedented will exhibited by you, Mr. President, that in the last 4 years, the association, through its self-regulation policy, partnered government agencies with our task force to successfully clear 8,000 chamfan. Chamfan is a local, it's a Chinese-molded dredging machines that are normally used to destroy our water bodies. We did that at a cost of over 900,000 Ghana cedis borne by the association. It is also in the same spirit and in the recognition of the unflinching will of Your Excellency, the zeal and the confidence being displayed by our sector minister, Honorable Samuel Abu Junapo, to deal with the remaining challenges on the ground that we are here to solidarize with the government in the quest to developing blueprints for dealing with the lingering challenges confronting the sector. We of the association believe, and we believe firmly, that we can build on the progress made in the past 4 years, guided by the lessons learned together. The Ghana National Association of Small Scale Mining is therefore ever ready to collaborate with the government and all key stakeholders to implement whatever policies and programs that will emanate from this dialogue to rid the small-scale mining industry of illegal activities and to improve sustainable small-scale mining. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, the Director of Finance of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Mr. Francis Opoku. And together, let's hear it up for the small-scale miners and the Chamber of Mines. We thank you for all your efforts in achieving sustainability. Mr. President, distinguished ministers of state, ladies and gentlemen, the true beneficiaries of our efforts this morning will be the children of Ghana. Here to speak on their behalf in poetry is Nakayet Dramani. Please welcome her warmly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the father of the nation addresses his children, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo.
The Chief Imam and clergy, Greater Accra Regional Minister, members of the Council of State, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for the Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, current and former Ministers of State, chairpersons and members of Parliament's select committees on lands, forestry, environment and mining, current and former members of Parliament, heads of our security services, representatives of political parties, representatives of civil society organizations, president and members of the National House of Chiefs and traditional rulers, president and members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, president and members of the Small Scale Miners Association, members of the Diplomatic Corps, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the energetic new Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu Junapo, Member of Parliament for Damago, for convening this national consultative dialogue on small-scale mining, and for the invitation to deliver these remarks. We have come from far and near, and from across the political divide, because of the importance we attach to the subject matter, and because of our collective determination to find a convergence of minds on the way forward. My views on the matter are well known and well documented. However, certain occurrences, especially in the run-up to the election of 7 December last, have inspired my insistence on the whole nation having a national conversation on Galamsey and I thank each and every one of you for making it to this consultative dialogue. I want to begin by emphasizing one point. Mining can create jobs, mining can improve livelihoods, and mining can generate wealth. But it cannot and must not do so at the expense of damaging the very environment that produces the riches. We have to acknowledge that Ghana is not made up only of the humans, but is also made up of the soil, the mountains and valleys, the forests, the rivers, the lakes, the seas, and the plant and animal life as well. Without them, we humans cannot and will not survive, and so they also need nurturing. We have to acknowledge that the natural environment has as much right to be here as we humans do. In many parts of the world, stories abound of wildlife returning to rivers and lakes, parks and gardens, and even to some town and village centers as people retreated into lockdowns or cut back on open public activities because of COVID-19. There is clearly a contest between us, humans, and the natural environment, and it is a lesson we must collectively confront. We must adapt to coexisting in peace and harmony with nature. This is the time to help rejuvenate our land, the time to take a careful look at how we use the land, the time to revisit our farming and building practices, and yes, the time to address the issue of Galamsey. I have said it on many occasions, and it is worth repeating. The Almighty has blessed us with precious minerals in our land. It is not surprising, therefore, that mining has always been part of our lives. There is nothing wrong with mining or trying to exploit the minerals we have been blessed with to develop our country. A substantial part of the revenues of the central government comes from mining. Indeed, the central government is always trying to find innovative ways to maximize the earnings from mining in order to provide public infrastructure. Families, too, depend on incomes from mining activities to put food on the table. Mining becomes problematic and dangerous when methods employed pose a danger to the land, the water bodies, and the very lives of the people. Mining becomes a danger to the society when, after extracting the gold, diamond, or other stones and minerals, the land is left degraded and poisoned with toxic minerals. The water bodies are turned into entities that can no longer support life, and plants and fish cannot survive in our rivers. Mining becomes a danger to the society when the sites are abandoned, leaving behind craters filled with mercury and other poisons, which cannot support any more fauna or plant life. We have had beautiful and majestic rivers and streams. Today, there's not much to celebrate about the pra or the brim, and there's not much to be excited about over our famed thick forests and the animals that inhabit them. Unacceptable mining and logging practices have laid them to waste. When I called for a national conversation on Galamsey, which eventually has led to the holding of this dialogue on the theme Sustainable Small-Scale Mining for National Development, it is not because I have any doubts about the need to protect our lands and our environment. It is because I want us to have a consensus on a sustainable method of mining the minerals in our land. We cannot have one part of the political divide campaigning for galamsey in the bush and the other waging an official fight against galamsey in the open. We must demonstrate that we love our land and are capable of taking care of it ourselves. We do not need foreigners to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian land, our inheritance. We do not need special interest groups to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian soil, flora, and fauna. It is the land of our birth. It is the land we inhabit. It is the land that supports our lands, our lives, and livelihoods. It is the land we named Ghana at independence 64 years ago. And we, the Ghanaian people, must be its best protectors. We must mean it when we sing with pride, Uramu song, Asasinie, Abodien Maye, Mojana Nananu Shweguye, Nede Atoho Amaye. This is our land. It is dear to us. Our forebears gave their blood so we would inherit it. Fellow Ghanaians, it is absolutely crucial that deliberations of this consultative dialogue be candid and devoid of partisanship or narrow parochial interests. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we should be able to build a broad-based national consensus around the necessity to stamp out the menace of illegal small-scale mining and the need to support and grow responsible small-scale mining. There are aspects of our national life which are fair subject matters of partisan politics. We must, however, come to the understanding the small-scale mining and the requirement to do away with illegalities in that sector should be beyond partisan politics. Some subjects simply cannot be part of our everyday politicking, and I urge this forum to insist that illegal small-scale mining and matters relating to it should be one of such issues requiring national effort. Government has a major responsibility to this end, as we are accountable for the stewardship of this sector, as indeed we are of all other sectors of national life. I am determined to enforce the laws on illegal mining, no matter the subject, high or low. I will, however, not act on hearsay or mere allegations without more. I will not hesitate to act, though, where the evidence is hard before the police, and I will do so irrespective of the standing of the person or persons involved. That is the true meaning of equality before the law. We want to build on the modest programs made in my first term. We want to learn from our shortcomings and receive productive inputs from this forum for purposes of enhancing the regulation of the sector. Out of this maiden consultative dialogue, I hope we will build a national consensus around a national policy on small-scale mining that promotes a responsible, viable, environmentally sustainable small-scale mining industry, which has discarded the use of mercury, chamfines, and excavators, which has barred the involvement of foreign nationals, and which has rejected the destruction of our forests, environment, and water bodies. This vision of what small-scale mining should be must have the support of the entire nation. I urge this colloquium to be bold and forthright in its deliberations. In other words, say it as it is. No subject or person should be above critique. Politicians, traditional authorities, policymakers, media, so-called influential people should all not be beyond your scrutiny. At the end of the day, what the Ghanaian people expect from this process are solutions which will assist in dealing with this endemic problem. I have confidence in the integrity of the people gathered in this room, and I'm sure that out of your deliberations, a workable blueprint will be produced. Accordingly, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ghanaians, I declare the first National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining duly launched, and I wish you well. I wish you well in your discussions. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
You may another resounding round of applause. It is always an edifying experience listening to you, Mr. President. Your remarks have made such an indelible imprint on us, and I believe it will serve as enough fodder for the deliberations ahead. I know this all too well because looking around, I see a healthy complement of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Lands and Natural Resources. Let's give them a resounding round of applause. The President pleads with all of us to lend our full support to today's agenda as the Honorable Inusaf Hussaini, former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, chairs the first plenary. Isn't that nice? Please, another round of applause. It will be remiss of me not to acknowledge our very esteemed traditional rulers here, led by the President of the President of the National House of Chiefs, who is the Paramount Chief of Sifi, Ahmiaso Traditional Area, or Jiaoho Yaojebi II. Nana Yamawakwaba. To this end, I believe all that needs to be said has been said, all that needs to be done will be done, but it will not be done until we invoke the blessing of God Almighty on this great venture. Please rise with me as we receive the Chief Imam, Dr. Sheikh Usman Nuru Shaributu, as he invokes the blessings of Allah. We have insisted that we said what
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء تكون لنا عيدا لأولنا وآخرنا وآية منك وارزقنا وأنت خير الرازقين اللهم اجعل بلدنا غانا بلدنا آمنا مطمئنا وسائر البلدان اللهم اجعل بلدنا غانا بلدنا آمنا مطمئنا وسائر البلدان وآمنا في أوطاننا ولا تفتنا اللهم ارفع مقتك وقلبك عنا ولا تؤاخذنا بما فعل السفهاء منا اللهم احفظ رئيس جمهورية غانا نانا لوغو أكفالو اللهم احفظ رئيس جمهورية غانا نانا أكفالو بسر لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون والله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم والله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله ما يشركون والله الخالق البارئ والمصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم اللهم احفظ رئيسنا جمهورية غانا نانا أكفالو اللهم احفظ رئيسنا جمهورية غانا نانا أكفالو تسير لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله آمين
آمين. الصلاة على النبي.
to this end, we say, may God bless you, the President of the Republic. May God bless this consultative assembly, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we plead with you to please remain still as the President of the Republic exchanges pleasantries and thereafter proceeds to the exhibition. We shall break for 15 minutes for refreshments and reconvene to begin the business of the day with the first plenary. Senior.
Thank you for staying with us on JoyNews and Joy 99.7 FM for the opening of the National Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining. Earlier, we heard President Akufo-Addo speak about the need to have this conversation and hopefully create a policy that will work this time around. Remember, in his first term, he made a commitment to fight galamsey or small-scale mining. There were some challenges on both fronts, that is having to deal with this problem. We reported, even though there was a task force set up to deal with the problem, there were still illegal miners in various reserves in the country still engaging in the act. There was also the other bit from the administrative point where there was news of some missing excavators that were seized from these illegal miners. All these issues and many more dampened the fight or affected the fight against illegal mining. And this time round, government hopes that this consultative dialogue on small-scale mining will chart a better course in our fight against small-scale mining, or what is called illegal mining. So the speakers have called for a candid collaborative effort, candid conversation about how we can move forward. We know that we have reps from various mining companies. We have reps from the House of Chiefs. The President himself just spoke. The Lands Minister is then, we are told that the former Lands Minister, Inusa Hussaini, will be chairing the first plenary on this particular program. And we are also being told that community mining is being perfected steadily, even as they try to draw a proper roadmap to ending this menace. This is the Joy News channel, and we are still live on Joy 99.7 FM. The President is expected to be at an exhibition shortly, after which there will be a 15-minute break, and then the interactive session will begin, and hopefully we'll take you back to the Accra International Conference Center. Do stay with us. We are home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. I'm grateful that you stayed with us. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. Quickly, we'll take you back to the Accra International Conference Center for the National Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining. Currently, we're about to have the first plenary discussing this particular matter.
In a short while, we'll receive the full complement of the House, all our members returning from cocoa break. I ask that all of us at the back please take our seats and hold ourselves in readiness. Technical Committee, Minerals Commission, okay. Chamber of Mines, not yet, okay. Small Scale, okay, and then Media Policy, okay. The representative of the Chamber of Mines, respectfully, we invite you to take your seat upstage.
We're waiting for the discussion to begin shortly, but before that, we heard from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Jinapor. He was on PM Express last night and said that his tenure will be judged on how successful he is in the fight against illegal mining. And if you've been following this fight, you know that in the first tenure of President Akufo-Addo, there was a lot of commitment from government side, but challenges were encountered, and we could not, as it were, succeed in that fight. Hopefully, this discussion will help us chart a new course. Let me take you back to the conference center.
Successes and the future outlook for the small-scale mining sector with representatives of the Ministerial Technical Committee on Small-Scale Mining, the Minerals Commission, the Ghana Chamber of Mines, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, and the Media Coalition on Illegal Mining. The session will last for exactly 40 minutes. To chair the session, it's my pleasure to invite a former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Inusa Fuseni.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, other ministers here present, members of parliament here present, former members of parliament here present, our chiefs, distinguished leaders, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Now, we have been told by His Excellency the President this morning that mining can create wealth. Mining can improve incomes. Mining definitely contributes to the development of our nation. But the catch, mining must not be done to the detriment of the environment. Today we are all gathered on the National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining. We all know that unregulated small-scale mining despoils the environment. We know that unregulated small-scale mining, illegal small-scale mining, pollutes our water bodies. We know that. And we've seen the evidence of that. We know, and the President has said it here, that illegal small-scale mining poses health challenges to populations around areas where mining activities take place. We know that. Past governments have attempted to deal with small-scale mining, albeit with little successes. The recent one was the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Small-Scale Mining. Today, the President has invited us to be bold and candid in the expression of our views on how to deal with the menace of small-scale mining. We have gathered here 5 important, knowledgeable personalities to help us understand exactly, or from their own perspectives, how to deal with the canker of illegal small-scale mining. I'm not going to attempt to introduce them myself. I'm going to invite each and every one of the discussants to introduce themselves, and then I will pose to them a general question which you will answer. All of you will answer the same question if you want, like the Legon experience compulsory question. And then from your individual answers, I will then set individual questions for all of you. So there will be a compulsory question which all of you will attempt, and then from there we'll ask the individual questions. So may I invite the distinguished person sitting immediately behind me to come to the podium and introduce himself.
Wow.
The microphone. Oh, okay. So there are microphones, so you can. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
My name is representing the Media Coalition Against Galamsey.
Hello. My name is Benjamin Ayu. I'm with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And today I'm representing the Ministerial Committee to develop a blueprint for managing small-scale mining.
And he was the former
CEO
of Minerals Commission.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Martin Aisi. I'm the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my name is Francis Okuku. I'm the Finance Director for Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners.
My name is Suleiman Kony, CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines.
Eric, welcome. Eric, what?
Suleiman Kony.
Suleiman Brema.
Kony.
Yeah. Now, so the general question to all of you, and we try to. Okay, the general question to all of you, and you have probably 2 minutes to answer. Chamber of Mines to mainstream or regulate small-scale mining. What are your views or military sector? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In our view as media operators, we believe that a poor licensing regime has resulted in the mess that we find ourselves in this country. In other jurisdictions, the regulatory authority ensure that they decentralize the licensing of small-scale miners. That is not the case in this country. Again, we believe that there is a need for a vigorous sensitization exercise on small-scale mining. But looking at the illiteracy level in this country and the lack of employment in this country, the best solution is to sensitize the actors for them to understand the level of destruction that they are causing to our environment. That is the view of the media.
Thank you so very much. Technical leader of the technical committee.
Yes.
Mr. Aye.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, if I might just speak on behalf of the technical committee. Indeed, when the committee was set up just about a fortnight ago, we asked ourselves, what is new that we can contribute? So we set out to check out what has been done in recent times, and we realized a lot has been done over the years. So in our analysis of the issues we identified, we came up with 3 big areas. The most significant was the poor, inadequate enforcement, implementation of the laws, regulations that we have. We generally agreed that in terms of laws, in terms of policy, in terms of institutions, Ghana could rank very highly globally. But then the problem is, to what extent have we enforced the requirements of this? That was the most significant finding that we made. Next to that, we found the question of resourcing and capacitating institutions. Giving the resources in terms of expanding the personnel to ensure they have adequate personnel to carry out their mandate, the logistical complement in terms of technology, the appropriate technology to be able to monitor and to follow through, ensure that things get carried through, and so on. It's very important as well. Again, very importantly, sometimes the interference of very influential people in the work of institutions. So these are things we found to be very significantly the impediments to achieving the goals we set for ourselves, which are clearly spelled out in policies, facilitated by laws, and so on. And so this leads to the third reason we found, the lack of formalization, not just legalization. As has been rightly said, you have the laws in place. Formalization, from our viewpoint, was to ensure that we put in place the commitment and support that will ensure that all the illegalities associated with mining become unattractive. And formal, properly carried out, responsible small-scale mining is what becomes attractive. So generally, those were the findings of the committee up to this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Aye. Thank you, Mr. Aye. Acting CEO, what is your view militates against our attempts at stemming out or stamping out illegal small-scale mining?
I will not try to repeat some of the things you've said, but I always tell people we don't mine in the sky. That is what everybody here must understand. We don't mine in the sky. So for me, it starts with getting viable areas for them to work. That is the beginning. Because you see, the person must get a license first before all the other things fall in place. Commission, for instance, has designated over 4,000 square kilometers of land across the country. But it's not enough to just say, here's a designated area for small-scale mining. These are 2,000 small-scale miners. Let's go there, and then they start work. There have been instances where we put them in those places. They start mining a day or two, and then they go back and jump on the consensus of other people. As we speak, apart from mining areas like forest reserves or water bodies, which are not allowed under any law, most of them work on concessions of large-scale people. So what we have to ask ourselves is, how do we get viable place for them to work? Now, as a nation, we have not done geological investigation of some of these areas. As for the blockade areas, they are there. So we will need to look for money, and I believe that by the time we'll be leaving here after 2 days, we will come to terms with the hard truth that, look, we have to find money in one way or the other to give to an institution that has a capacity. I'm talking about geological survey. They have the capacity to investigate some of these areas. So for me, that's where we should start from, getting them viable places to work. We've not done that properly as a nation.
Small-scale miners.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I will also want to tackle it from this point. Yeah, I think the number one thing that small-scale miners always look for is getting viable, mineable place to mine, like my boss put it. We have seen from research, and if you go to the grounds, you realize that the root cause of illegalities, number one has to do with getting a mineable place to work. That's why sometimes they are compared to fall on a concession belonging to large scale. But what we realize is that sometimes when Mineral Commission manage to seed an area for mining, you realize that before it comes down to the small-scale miners, everything is gone through protocol. This thing, once we are here to discuss these issues dispassionately and honestly, I think some toes will be stepped, and we are here to get healing to these menace. So that thing should be looked at, because in the past, we realized that a blockout will come, and the Small-Scale Miners Association, per the law, you have to belong to an association at the district level to apply for some of these concessions. But most of the time, we don't hear of some of them. Before you are aware, the concessions are gone, and none of our members had it. And the number two thing I want us to look at is also enforcement of the laws. The laws, as we have now, to a large extent, are good. But the implementation, those who are supposed to go and enforce the laws, especially those, let's say, when the task force issues came out, the Operation Vanguard and thing, sometimes they go around and they put selfish interest ahead of the national interest. And they see that place as heaven for their pockets, instead of considering the nation and the small-scale miners who are the grounds who need proper monitoring. We, the Small-Scale Miners Association, we are prepared. And time and over again, we have demonstrated with our task force that we spent so much on, that was on record during the fights, during the ban, and even the formation of the association. So not until a conscious and deliberate effort has been made to formalize or to resource
We do apologize for the loss in that feed from the Accra International Conference Center. Our technical team is working the lines to get it back on. But just there, you heard the beginning of that plenary discussion led by former Lands Minister Inusa Fuseni on the way forward in our fight against small-scale mining. We'll be bringing you more here on the JoyNews channel and on Joy 99.7 FM. Do stay.